what our defensive goals are from standing. First, let's talk about stance. All right, so we got to be disciplined here. Going about a medium stance, okay? Usually matching the head height of your partner. You don't want to be up too high, all right? That's going to be leading to easier takedowns for your partner. You don't want to be too low because then that's going to be easy snap downs for your partner, okay? So head height, about medium, still go down a little bit. Good. All right, now we're going to have elbows in tight. If Joel has his elbows out wide, that leads to easy arm drags, duck unders. If these elbows are in tighter, that's harder to get. I'm not getting a duck under there, okay? Leading your hands out in front, usually having hover hands here. I don't want his hands to be on top of mine, so I'm pummeling back on top for inside positioning here, okay? So that's going to be for our stance. Matching head height, elbows in tight, hover hands. Lastly is going to be our defensive concept, which is hands, head, and hips. Any grip that he's attacking on me is usually addressing one of these three things, okay? So just go for any grip or any takedown here. So here, he's beating my hands. Go ahead and continue. Now he starts to beat my head. Continue. And then now he's starting to beat my hips, okay? Anytime throughout this process, we can start to replace those things. Here, for example, rotate. I have my head and my hands beat, but I still have my hips that can help me here. I'm gonna start to get my leg, get my leg nice and heavy here. And I can start to replace things. I'm gonna start to get my hands back in front of you. And I'm gonna maybe get my head back in front of you. Now, that grip is much harder to get. Let's take an arm drag, for example. He's got my arms beat good. Now he's got my head beat, okay? I can still use my hips to save me here by going around. Now I get my hands in place, my head in place, and we're back out to neutral. Go ahead for double leg. So you see he drops his level, which beats my head and my hands. I'm gonna use my hips to save me here. Get my legs back, start to become heavier. Get my hands back in front. If I need to, I can counter, or I can start to get my head in place and come back out to neutral, okay? So what I want you to focus on is get any grip or any setup, any takedown, and I want you to use at least one, two or more to get back to a neutral position, okay? It could be anything. Let's say he's going for a duck under right now. Just here. All right? Getting beat here. I'm going to start to use my hips to square up with them. Try to get my hands and my head. If you have all three in alignment, it's never going to be a good shot for him. For example, if he tries to shoot here without beating my hands and my head, go ahead and continue. As you see, we're always going to be able to safely counter their attacks then. So hands, head, and hips, all right? How can you use those, or I'm sorry, how can you use at least one of those to get back to a neutral position, okay? Sound good? So grab grip, set up a takedown, use at least one of those moves to get all three back in alignment. And you're going back and forth, okay? Easing into it, of course. Sound good? Yep. 1, 2, 3. All right, good. So that's what we're trying to maintain. Hands, head, and hips. As soon as you lose one, replace it, okay? By using one of the other two defensive layers, okay? So when we're here, outside of that, our main goal is to maintain inside control. Why are we trying to maintain inside control? For example, inside control is control anywhere from the wrists to the neck with at least two of my body parts, okay? So what are we beating here when we're doing this? We're beating two layers of his defense. We're beating his hands, and we're also beating his head, okay? Another example of inside control is not just with the collar tie, okay? It's using your own head, okay? And when we're here, right? I can have an underhook as well. This is inside control, all right? So we want to focus on head control, either collar tie or using our head, and arm control, okay? So that could be gripping, pushing grips on the elbow, here on the shoulder, using my head, using collar ties, a mixture of the two, okay? You're wanting to maintain that all times, okay? That's when you get offensive. So if we're here, we're in neutral positioning, I'm maintaining, he's going to be grip fighting me right off of the bat. He's beating my hands. I try to get that back in alignment. Let's say I use my head. I get into here and I want inside control, and now I'm looking to be offensive, okay? I'm not looking to be offensive when he's beating one of my layers of defense, okay? So our goal here, we're gonna have one person trying to maintain inside control at all times. Joel's gonna be making this difficult for me. He's gonna be breaking grips, all right? As soon as I lose one, I wanna replace it, okay? So you're here, switching sides, staying here, okay? If he breaks my control completely, all right, he gets inside control of the zone, that's a win for him, and we switch, okay? So one person's going to be trying to hold and maintain inside positioning for the period. When the buzzer ends, that's when we're switching. Person defending, you're trying to break out of this and get your own inside control, okay? Sound good? 1, 2, 3. Head control here, okay? Make sure that you're having either a collar tie or you are driving forward with your head. It's a very, very fine detail, okay? But where your head is where your pressure is, okay? So if your head is upright, you're not going to be able to drive forward as easy. And also, duck unders, underhooks, openings to the legs are a little bit easier. Watch what happens to my hips when I drop my head. See my hips get back just a little bit, all right? So these are little fine details that are going to help you out. Just drive forward, your forehead or your temple is touching your opponent at all times, not the top of your head, because this can get snapped down, which we'll talk about later, okay? So there's going to be times where we lose inside control, all right? So we need to focus on preventing it from getting worse, all right? So as you see here, I beat Joel's hands and I'm beating his head here, all right? The thing that I need offensively, my goal is to connect to the core or the shoulders or to the hips, okay? Pretty much tomato, tomato, all right? But closed grip equals death for Joel, all right? Lots of takedowns here. I can pull guard into great positioning here. All great things come from a closed grip, okay? So what Joel needs to focus on, as soon as I get this underhook, he needs to be controlling my free hand and not allow me to get my grip closed, okay? And he's going to be focused on using, so he's using one layer of defense to help him here. How's he going to use the other two, this layer and maybe other layers to help get him back to the inside positioning? Okay, so go ahead and try to do that. How would you do? Good? Good. Perfect. So he used his hands and his hips with movement to help him out there, okay? But the number one thing that he needed to focus on was preventing this grip from happening. Because let's say he wasn't focusing on that and he was trying to push and spin, I just immediately went right here and now he's getting taken down, okay? So we'll start with the shoulder control first. Partner's gonna have head inside positioning and an underhook any way possible. Doesn't particularly matter. Your job is to connect your hands. As you see, it is not very hard to do that. So Joel needs to get a good grip on this to start with, okay? So he has control of his free hand, right? And then he's going to go. He's going to try to break to a neutral position. Good. Nice job. Okay. That would equal a win for him. If I'm able to pummel and get to here really quick, that's a win for me. After each win, you switch top to bottom. Do not be beating yourself up. If you lose here, that's why underhooks are so dominant, right? You're just one step away from lock control. Okay? Make sense? Switch roles after each loss or victory. 1, 2, 3. Fill that out for a second before we give some more finer details and a little bit more options to work with here. Okay? So having his head on the inside and he's got an underhook. Not very good for us because he's already got 2 layers of defense beat. We need to use what we can effectively. Like I said, controlling this wrist is very important because no matter what you do, even with the overhook, okay, if he's got a closed grip right here and he knows what he's doing, I'm in a lot of trouble, okay? So number one is keeping this grip open. Control anywhere from the wrist to the elbow. So if he's pummeling his wrist here, just immediately go to the elbow pit, all right? With the V grip, we're following it, we can come back down here. It can even be at the shoulder, okay? Anything that's keeping this grip open keeps me happy, all right? So that's using my hands, a defensive layer of my hands to help me here. We also can use this overhook, all right? Trying to lower his shoulder with our weight, okay? Next, using our hips here, okay? We can use our hips with movement. Stay tight here. We can use our hips with movement, all right? And squaring up with Joel, pommel getting free, or we can off balance here, okay? Same concepts from guard positioning, sweeping, off balancing our opponent to get better gripping. We can do the same from our feet, okay? From here, we can do outside tripping, okay? So driving your knee here, keeping this underhook tight and pushing forward. That might be just the off balance that we need to get our opponent away from us, okay? We also could do inside tripping here. So bringing our leg in front, kicking back, using our overhook to try to get his hands to the mat here, okay? If Joel is really driving into me, of course we can get takedowns with this, but most likely when we're getting in these neutral positions, it's just an off balance, and that's what I need to get out of here, okay? So again, inside control, keep this grip open any way possible. Using the overhook and using your hips for movement, or off balances to get back to a neutral or your own inside position. Okay? So let's do that one more time. Same goals. 1, 2, 3. Defense. Now, let's start to focus on hip line defense. So let's say that Joel drops down. Let's say I'm giving him some trouble here with the upper body. So he does a good offensive strategy, having trouble high, so he goes low. All right? So now he's lower on my leg, and he's starting to grab my knee here and driving. This is good. Let's say he's just doubled up on this leg like this, okay? This is great control. If he gets control of my hips, locked around here, I'm in trouble, okay? So that's what you need to worry about. So go back down, okay? So when we're here, same thing. No matter what takedown it is, we're using at least one of the 3 defensive layers to get all 3 back in alignment and get inside control of our own, and we can be on offense here, okay? So we're using the same stuff that we're using before, okay? So now I'm getting my hips involved, getting heavy, getting into here, okay? But what I want you to focus on and always be aware of is not allowing this grip to upgrade to my hips, okay? It's gonna be hard for him to do it from here, okay? But once he starts to stand up with this leg, now it's gonna start to become easy, okay? So whenever, especially he comes up to a standing position, I wanna focus on inside control of this free arm. If that arm opens up, okay, I'm immediately blocking it and starting to work my defense as I did prior, okay? So same thing as before, we can use our hips with either movement or off balancing in any way possible. Try to experiment here. How do I use my hips to get out of here? How do I use my hands to get out of here? Either underhooks, okay? Or just breaking the grip, right? You can experiment a little bit more. This is using my hands. We're using the Kimura, okay? So what you're wanting to avoid is the close grip around your hips, using at least one of the defensive layers to help get you out back to neutral inside position. Does that make sense? Person attacking, you're starting in a single leg here. You're having good posture, temple and forehead. I recommend immediately driving weight to the other leg. And if you can get that grip around the hips immediately, great job. That's your goal, all right? Switch rolls each time. 1, 2, 3, all right? So, probably the best form of control you can get in jiu-jitsu is head control, okay? So when Joel starts to, let's say he beat first 2 layers of defense, he's dropping down to a double leg of any sort, I'm using my hips to save me here, okay? Do not do head wrapping when your hips are not free, okay? This is going to equal him dumping me to the weak side. I'm not in good position here. There's more important things to be doing. For example, keeping his grip open, okay? So I'm using my hands to help me here. I'm starting to sprawl, okay? instead of allowing him to continue forward and start trying to take me down, we can start to wrap the head and either get in the front headlock or start to spin around towards the back. Okay? All that comes from head control because it crushes his posture, forces him down to the mat. Okay? Take single leg, for example. All right? So here, he's nice and strong. Okay, of course, I could be making this leg heavy, as you should. Okay, that's a finer detail for single leg. Make this leg as heavy as hell. All right, but same thing here. I can start to wrap him down. If I wrap his head here, I'm getting dumped down onto the mat. So what I need to focus on is trying to get my hips free first. Now I can wrap the head. Okay, so start to set up some takedowns. Person on top, I want you to get your hips free, still maintaining the principle of preventing the grip from connecting, okay? So preventing the grip from connecting, get your hips free, then wrap the head, okay? So it's kind of like drilling. Person on bottom, you're trying to connect your hands still, okay? So let's say we start into a single leg at first, and then you can work into a double leg, all right? So you're drilling the setup for the takedown, but your job is to connect your hands. All right, person on top, you're trying to keep those hands open, get your hips free, wrap the head. Switch top to bottom after each time. All right, 1, 2, 3. As I said on Tuesday, out of the NCAA championships the last couple of years, the statistics are in, counter wrestling was the highest percentage takedown. Okay, so another great form of counter wrestling aside from head wrapping is reshooting, okay? Because when I go in for a shot here and I'm starting to come up, I'm not as defensively sound as I was before I took that shot, okay? So we want to maintain our inside control. Joel is, for right now, let's make it so that Joel doesn't do a good job. Let's say he does a jiu-jitsu shot where he doesn't break through any of my defensive layers here. He starts to shoot for my legs. I'm keeping the defensive layers in place, my head, my hands, and my hips. And once he starts to come back up, soon as I see that second knee come off of the mat, I want to be coming forward with my takedown, okay? So this is going to be kind of like a reshot drill, all right? So he's going to stand up, do the same thing. I'm going to start to set up my takedown. As soon as I come up, he's coming in for either a double or a single leg, whatever his fancy is, okay? So we're just going to go back and forth like that. You saw it a lot of times at ADCC, reshots are king, okay? So something to have ingrained in your mind, as soon as they shoot, you're like, I'm taking a shot, okay? Because me, I'm not the best at shooting. I'm going to start to work on that. But every single time someone shoots, I shoot, okay? Your confidence in your shot will build with reshots, okay? Because it's like what you imagine is going to happen. You know, every time we out there, we're like, we've been drilling double legs, you know, double leg, and it just gets shot down. It never works, and now you're in front head. Well, this might get you that success that you always wanted, okay? Sound good? So we're just drilling. It's going back and forth. 1, 2, 3.